Hi everyone. Welcome back to our English learning channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most important and sometimes tricky topics in English. Phrasal verbs. Specifically, we'll break down transitive phrasal verbs, intransitive phrasal verbs, separable phrasal verbs, and inseparable phrasal verbs. Don't worry, it's easier than it sounds. Let's get started. What are phrasal verbs? Now, we're going to talk about a super important part of the English language. Phrasal verbs. If you've ever wondered why English speakers say things like give up, look after, or turn off, you're about to find out. So, let's dive in. What exactly is a phrasal verb? Well, a phrasal verb is a combination of a verb and a particle, either a preposition or an adverb, that creates a new meaning. Now, here's the key. The meaning of the phrasal verb is often different from the verb by itself. For example, verb give, to hand something over. Phrasal verb give up, to quit or stop trying. As you can see, give alone means something totally different from give up. This is what makes phrasal verbs so interesting and sometimes challenging to learn. Let's break it down. A phrasal verb has two main components. The verb. This is the action word, like give, take, or look. The particle. This can be a preposition or an adverb, like up, on, or after. When combined with the verb, it changes the meaning of the phrase entirely. Give up. To quit or stop trying. Take on. To accept some task. Look after. To take care of. Why are phrasal verbs important? Phrasal verbs are frequently used in everyday conversations, making them important for fluency. English speakers often use phrasal verbs instead of more formal alternatives. For example, instead of saying, I abandoned my plan, it's more common to say, I gave up on my plan. The idiomatic nature of many phrasal verbs can make them tricky for English learners. It's important to learn their meanings in context, because they often cannot be translated word for word. Phrasal verbs provide variety and flexibility in English. They allow speakers to express ideas in a less formal and often more vivid way. Types of phrasal verbs. Let's start with transitive phrasal verbs. These are phrasal verbs that need a direct object. In other words, something or someone receives the action of the verb. For example, I'll pick up my sister from school. Here, my sister is the direct object, so pick up is a transitive phrasal verb. She gave up her job to travel. Her job is the direct object of the phrasal verb, gave up. The key thing to remember, transitive phrasal verbs always need an object to complete the meaning. Now, let's look at more example sentences. She turned off the lights before going to bed. I looked up the word in the dictionary. He put on his jacket because it was cold. They gave away all their old clothes to charity. We need to fill out this form before the deadline. She took back the dress because it didn't fit her. He handed in his assignment early this morning. I picked up some groceries on my way home. The teacher called off the class due to bad weather. She put off the meeting until next week. Next, we have intransitive phrasal verbs. These phrasal verbs do not take a direct object. The action is complete without needing anything else. I woke up late this morning. There's no direct object here. Nothing or no one is waking up. It just happens. He broke down after hearing the bad news. Again, no object is needed. The action of broke down stands alone. The key point here: intransitive phrasal verbs don't need an object. The action is complete on its own. Here are more examples. She woke up late today. The car broke down on the highway. After a long day at work, he just wants to chill out. They grew up in a small town. He passed out from the heat. The movie came out last week. They broke up after 5 years of dating. The storm let up in the afternoon. She showed up late to the party. He calmed down after hearing the good news. Now, let's move on to separable phrasal verbs. Some transitive phrasal verbs allow you to separate the verb and the particle by placing the object between them. For example, I'll pick up my sister, or I'll pick my sister up. Both are correct because pick up is a separable phrasal verb. She looked up the word in the dictionary, or she looked the word up in the dictionary. But be careful. If the object is a pronoun, it must go between the verb and the particle. For example, I'll pick her up, not I'll pick up her. You say, he turned it off. But you cannot say, he turned off it. She looked them up in the dictionary. But not, she looked up them in the dictionary. Please check out more examples. I'll pick up my friend from the airport. I'll pick my friend up from the airport. He turned off the TV. He turned the TV off. She put on her shoes. She put her shoes on. The teacher called off the test. The teacher called the test off. He gave away his old computer. He gave his old computer away. They took out the trash. They took the trash out. She wrote down the address. She wrote the address down. He put off the trip. He put the trip off. I filled out the form. I filled the form out. She looked up the information. She looked the information up. Finally, let's talk about inseparable phrasal verbs. These are phrasal verbs where you cannot separate the verb from the particle. The object must always come after the entire phrasal verb. For example, I ran into an old friend yesterday. You cannot say, I ran an old friend into. It's always together, ran into. She looks after her younger brother. You cannot separate looks and after. They always stay together. So, for inseparable phrasal verbs, the object always follows the complete phrasal verb. More examples. They came across a rare book in the library. The team ran out of time during the game. He gets along with all his coworkers. We went over the instructions before starting the project. She put up with his bad habits for years. He bumped into his professor at the conference. She came down with a cold after the trip. The manager looks forward to the team's presentation next week. Let's do a quick recap. Transitive phrasal verbs need an object. He gave up smoking. Intransitive phrasal verbs don't need an object. He woke up early. Separable phrasal verbs allow the object to be placed between the verb and the particle. She turned off the lights. Or, she turned the lights off. Inseparable phrasal verbs can't be separated. The object always comes after the whole phrasal verb. He came across an old photo. And there you have it. Understanding the differences between transitive, intransitive, separable, and inseparable phrasal verbs is super important for improving your English skills. Don't forget to practice using them in your daily conversations and writing. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more helpful English tips. See you in the next video.